This is a Mike Lee News Update. Today, reports that North Korea has broken its promise to disarm. Your reaction?
Well, Mike, I am no North Korean sympathizer, or am I somebody who would be on the side of the North Koreans, but I think it's too strong of an accusation right now that they are rearming themselves at this point. Now, having said that, they must be developing better military capabilities, but the launch pad itself, the evidence that we've seen so far, I think is not that sufficient.
Speaking with Chun, former Lieutenant General in the South Korean Army. General Chun, welcome to the update. You're there in Seoul, only minutes from the North Korean border. What more can you tell us about this story? Are you suggesting that maybe it's being blown out of proportion?
Well, the facts show that we are looking at commercial imagery right now, that the launch pad has not been disassembled as previously suggested by North Korea. In fact, they're building something. We don't know exactly what it is, but there is some sort of construction going on. Also, right next to the launch pad, there's a engine testing facility which has not been dismantled and which seems to be going through some sort of construction as well. So to some people, this is an act of rearming by the North Koreans and not keeping their promise as well. To others, that seems a little bit exaggerated. For me, without the concrete facts that I would need from my previous profession, I would not, go as far as that accusation yet.
You've made a point of saying that these are commercial satellite images. What is the significance of that as you wrap it into your analysis?
Well, commercial satellite imagery these days are the same equivalent of military-grade satellites a couple of decades ago. So these are not just, blurry images. They're pretty fine and accurate. I'm just saying that even with that, what we're seeing is not conclusive, for me at least, to say that the North Koreans are rearming themselves. I just want to at least give them the benefit of the doubt for the next couple of months.
Well, I'm going to play the other side of the coin on this because it has to be asked. Your own intelligence agency is quoted as saying they seem to be rebuilding it. Now, is that a misquote or a misunderstanding, or is it true?
I'm not quite sure what the National Intelligence Service, the NIS, the Korean equivalent of the CIA, has said, but I think they were saying yes, North Koreans are building something, but they're not quite sure what it is.
Well, again, if I'm just an average person watching this and worried about the nuclear arms race, I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe they're not building as fast as we ought to be alarmed about, but they're not knocking it down, and I am worried about that. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, Mike, again, I am not an apologist for North Korea. I don't speak for them, but I would say to the average person that, okay, we need to be concerned about this. We need to keep a very close eye on this, but it's not time to panic yet. Let's give them 2 more months and see where all this construction goes, and see what happens. Is all I'm saying.
The U.S. government is not quoted in this story today, and I think you'd probably agree with me that if a commercial satellite can show this, that the U.S. government probably knew all of this going into the Hanoi summit. Would that seem reasonable to you?
That would seem reasonable to me, yes.
And what do you read into that? If they knew that they were not breaking it down, and might have been possibly rebuilding something, but not moving fast at all. It didn't seem to be raised in the summit, and well, at least not publicly by Trump or the Secretary of State.
Yeah, Mike, I really don't want to speculate in these kind of settings or any kind of settings. I just want to say at this point that with the information that I have right now, with the information that has been released so far, it would be inconclusive at best, and it would not be professional to make speculations. I don't take it that way. I'm just trying to explain that I was in uniform for 40 years. It's in our innate nature to hope for the best, but to prepare for the worst. So I'm not taking this as if I'm giving them a blank check. I'm just saying at this point we have an indication. We have an indicator. We don't have a crisis yet, and so we see some activity there. We notice that it is against what they've been saying that they're willing to do, but we don't. From the information that we have, it's not conclusive. So we're going to keep an eye and make sure that we have full information. But at the same time, we should be vigilant and be prepared for any kind of outcome. So that's all I'm saying.
The timing of the release of these photos, I don't know exactly when they were taken, but they were released today or yesterday, or the news was. These things aren't done by accident, are they?
It was released by 38 North. It's a civilian organization, and I can't believe that people at 38 North had an ulterior motive. So I don't think it was they had other motives for doing that. They were preparing for this data, and they report on these things regularly. So
they wouldn't have been prompted by the U.S. military to either hold back or release. They would have done it on their own.
Oh, of course.
Well, that's important to know, because I think a lot of people automatically assume when these kind of stories break, that the U.S. government would either be behind it or manipulating it. And I guess you're saying it's not necessarily the case.
Well, in most cases, I'm on the side where I wish that the U.S. government would be more deliberate and more into planning in detail.
Well, what can the U.S. government do now? How can it use this information politically in terms of the disarmament process?
I think probably, and again, I don't want to speculate, but if I were the U.S. government, which I am speculating now, I would assess that this would be just one piece of the puzzle.
What has been the reaction so far in South Korea?
I think the reaction generally is of concern. The implications of what this reporting might generate. Some people, it's very divided, I think. On the one part, people are pointing fingers at North Korea. On the other hand, other people are saying, let's give North Korea some more time and see where this goes. Other people have conspiracy theories. But I think that's where people are pretty divided.
Putting these photographs in the context of Kim just having arrived back from the Hanoi summit, do you have any new indications, any feelings or ear to the ground that would tell you one way or the other whether Kim himself in North Korea is under increased pressure because of the lack of a total agreement in Hanoi?
I just returned from a private session with some North Korea experts, and we were generally in the agreement that the supreme leader is not under pressure, but probably his pride is hurt, which might be more dangerous. But at the moment, they're keeping their lines of communications open as well, which is a good thing.
I very much appreciate your insights to this continuing story, and of course for your contributions to the 4-part podcast called Korea, the History Story You Were Never Told. Thank you very much. Inbon Chun, former Lieutenant General in the South Korean Army. The North Korea nuclear arms story. This has been a Mike Lee News Update.